Taipei Twin Towers development offers an incredible opportunity to create a new gateway, a place where people come together, a publicly spirited place where everyone is welcome. As we were first conceptualizing this project, we asked ourselves, how do we connect to this specific place? What does it mean to have this building for Taipei, for Taiwan, and for it to be seen by the world? And how can it set an important first step in the new development direction for the West District? This is an important time for Taipei. Investments in the Eastern District in the 1980s have established a rich, robust city center in Xinyi, anchored for the last 18 years by Taipei 101. And while that development has been very successful, the Taipei Twin Towers creates the opportunity to return to the historic heart of the city in the West, to establish a new gateway for Taiwan directly adjacent to the North Gate, the historic front door to Taipei. Neighborhoods like this one, rich in amenities that bring together diverse populations as they visit museums, galleries, historic sites, performing arts centers, vibrant retail, and significant open spaces, are becoming increasingly valuable as people are more willing to embrace history. This terrific site benefits not just from its history, but from the investment in infrastructure that the government has made over the last decades, including the new rail line and station linking this site to the Taoyuan International Airport. These important new links will weave together this development into the fabric of the city.
The question for our full team, as developers, architects, planners, and engineers, is what is the most appropriate solution for the site? One that represents the welcoming and entrepreneurial spirit of Taiwan, one that redefines the skyline of Taipei, and one that establishes a new identity for the West District. We looked to many things for inspiration, but what resonated most with us was Taiwan's unique geography and natural resources, and the relationship between the Taipei Basin and its surrounding topography. As the city of Taipei has expanded, nearly the entire basin has been filled with buildings, making the surrounding hills and landscapes particularly precious. We believe that to preserve the exceptional character of Taiwan, any new development should celebrate open space and develop a strong integration between the natural and built environments.
The project works on two levels. On the ground, it creates a connection for the historic buildings and the districts. And above, it creates the conceptual link and visual connection to the Qixing Mountain. A pair of signature towers frames the view, bringing the landscape down from the mountains to the towers, as well as up from the park into the public spaces of the building. The floor plans of both towers are elongated ellipses with broad faces to the north and south for optimal daylighting. The curves of each corner help reduce the apparent width of the towers and prevent them from forming a visual barrier between the historic city and the Qixing Mountain. The bold, powerful shapes of the tower are reinforced by the shimmering building skin that rises above the landscape and marks this as the gateway to Taipei.
The unique tower shapes are informed by the needs, which is the building use, the occupancy, so those are must-haves. It's also informed by the wants, which are more of the attributes of what it wants to promote visually. The exterior enclosure design to achieve that also has needs and wants. In the design, it was critical to establish the geometry for the tapering form so that that could be readily identified and transferred to achieve the tower shape. From there, through an iterative process of design, detail, and communication with the client and with local builders, materials were selected to achieve the visual objective and to provide the tapering tower form in a custom, unique enclosure that's designed specifically for this building, for the Taipei climate, and for all of the elements that it needs to address.
The two towers generously taper in form, gradually opening up to the sky and the views, while creating a welcoming gesture that holds the National Living Room.
The podium at the base of the towers scales the building down to the scale of the city and creates an important massing relationship with the adjacent Taipei main station. The project further scales through the Taipei corridor, which scales the project to the historic fabric into the park below. This element, which stretches nearly 1 kilometer from the main station to the west side of the project, was really inspired by the city's shopping arcades. It consists of a double colonnade. It's a 2-story element. It has elements of open-air trellises, and we hope through these elements, it helps to recapture some of the atmospheric qualities of old Taipei. Because this is really the heart of the city, the heart of Taiwan really, we want to make all levels of this project open to the public. We want to be able to allow people to ascend from the street level to the top of the podium without ever having to enter the building. And this is done through a series of really incredible landscape elements. The main feature of this sequence is the National Living Room. We see the National Living Room as a multi-level event space, open 24 hours a day, a place for people to gather with friends and family, a place for celebration, a place to experience the culture of Taipei and Taiwan. The National Living Room has a monumental stair that cascades down and forms a natural amphitheater. It flares open and planned to embrace the park and to allow events to span across elevations. On the north side of the National Living Room, it opens up views to the Qixing Mountain, incredible views. As you ascend through the podium, the character of the landscape transforms, and this was really meant to mirror the character of the landscape transforming through the Taipei Basin from the base to the top of the mountains.
The National Living Room will be the heart of the city. It's an adaptive, transformative space that can accommodate all kinds of uses, from daytime lunches and marketplaces to events, concerts, and performances, to more formal events and celebrations. Beneath the podium and in the foreground of Taipei Twin Towers is a public park, which hosts the Mitsui Warehouse, the Post Office, the Train Museum, and Taipei's historic North Gate. Many of the attributes of the podium facade are inspired by these historic landmarks, notably its dynamic double-skin curtain wall, which glows with the warmth of the surrounding 19th century architecture, while allowing daylight into the building. The copper and silver-hued metal screens of this facade, which are set into layers of glass, elaborate on the historic and topographical inspirations for the podium, with the decorative perforations that evoke the wave forms of tea fields and the curves of stacked ceramic tile roofs.
We developed a dual wall, 2 layers, an outside and an inside, with movable interior screens to promote visual transparency, to promote a dynamic and ever-changing exterior wall that also will accommodate and address the unique cultural aspects of Taipei and this site, and the climatic aspects of Taipei with its unique climate environment.
One of the unique challenges of this site was to take 2 very tall buildings and create a structure that addressed the use of those towers, and then create an idea that transitions that structure into the existing train station that is active. And that train station has 3 levels of structural steel built on pile foundations. And so what we did is we created an idea that allowed our towers actually to be even taller than the ones that were originally designed, but shaped them in a way that allowed for the loads to be balanced and use the existing structure with very little change, and with ideas that this structure could be built while the train station remained in operation. The towers are not only iconic on the skyline in Taipei, but they're engineered to be aerodynamic. Typhoon winds in Taipei are significant. And so what we've created is a structure that is elliptical in plan, but also tapers over its height. In doing that, we're able to minimize the demands to this new structure, and even allowing the towers to be taller than the original design for the site. Since the winds are so high in Taipei, we've actually come up with an idea to optimize its performance and resilience. And we've introduced 2 sloshing dampers into the top of each one of the towers to add to the performance and to enhance what we believe is already a very efficient structure.
We are thrilled that Taipei Twin Towers will be Taipei's first triple platinum project, achieving the highest levels of certification in LEED, WELL, and Taiwan's own EEWH. Every element of the design establishes dynamic connections between Taipei's cultural heritage and its progressive future.
Ultimately, we see the Taipei Twin Towers contributing on 3 levels. The towers form an immediate, welcoming place from the main station for arrival by train. They act as a marker for the district and energize the revitalization of the historic heart. And finally, they represent the future of Taiwan and act as a new gateway to the world.